Good morning to you. I hope you're having a lovely day and remembering your blessings wherever you are at. Thought I would run outside this morning before the sunrise and do a little garden tour, see where everything is in the snapshot in time in the garden today. It's a little messy right now. We just put in some fresh mulch in the beds around the house. I need to power wash the sidewalks. We've got our hostas and lamb's ear on the shady side. I've put lettuce seedlings in these planter boxes. I planted I planted a total of 9 dahlias yesterday. So anywhere you see these bamboo sticks, that's what they're for. Some peonies are coming up. I have some mums that I'm going to be transplanting in this bed also in the next few days. Let me show you what this rosemary looked like yesterday before we trimmed it back. And this is what it looks like today. I'm going to be keeping some of what's in that chair over there for seasonings, and the rest we gave to the chickens. I got rid of the marjoram that was in this big, or my husband got rid of the marjoram for me that was in that big barrel. Haven't decided what I'm going to put back in there yet. But we've got our garlic chives on the left, sage in the round pots, onion chives behind the sage, petunias, oregano, and thyme from right to left. Another dahlia, some snapdragons, and I moved 2 of my peonies over here that were in the side yard where I'm not going to have flowers anymore. And some dahlias that were hurt by the frost. Hopefully they'll come back up. They're a lovely dark red. They're called Gideon dahlias. I transplanted some mullein over here. Russet potatoes and 3 red potatoes on the end. They came up a little faster, so those potato plants are a little bigger right now. Ella Campaign, I haven't used that yet medicinally, but I'm growing it for those purposes. Let's see what's going on in the greenhouse. I left it open last night because it was warm. Extra tomato plants potted up and growing. Extras for sale and gifts. Now, these tomato plants here did not come up very fast. It took them, I don't know, more than 10 days. So I got worried, gave up, started another tray of tomato plants, and I see them starting to break the ground. So I'm gonna have more extras. Pepper plants have finally come up. They do take a little longer. All right. Tomato cages with some leftover vines from last year. Need to be cleaned off and prepared for tomatoes. All right, what I'm going to do different this time is I'm going to start with wall bed number 1, and I'm going to walk the perimeter first and do all the wall beds first so you don't get whiplash from me turning the camera too much. And then we'll do the inside bed. So, wall bed 1, potatoes that were planted at the end of February. A little early for our area, but it seems like we've had an early spring. And they're doing well. They did get a little singed with the frost last week, even though they were covered, but they'll be fine. Pretty flowers. This wall bed 2 is all red potatoes, and I threw some kale in there. Whether or not the kale survived is hit or miss. Some places say you can intercrop them, and some say not to. So we'll see how they do. Bed 3, lettuce, collards. The extra cauliflower that I had that I put in here died. It did not do well, not being covered. Cauliflower does not like below freezing. A little extra lettuce and a volunteer potato plant. I did not plant him this year. That was from last summer. So that makes this bed 4. And this spinach is looking amazing. When you hit it at just the right time, spinach loves 50-degree nights, 70-degree days. And when you can get them out at just the right time, they grow so lovely. These were transplants. I started the seeds in my greenhouse, and they are ready for harvesting. Look how big they've already gotten. I'll put the date on my screen when I seeded it and when I transplanted. Help me remember next year. Threw in a couple lettuce plants in there. These are carrots for seed that I saved, let them grow from last year. This is lettuce. And down the middle, there's beets with more lettuce. So if that's 3, 4, this is bed 5. Bed 6 is empty right now. It's going to have more flowers. I haven't decided. It'll probably be calendula and these snapdragons, maybe 1 or 2 other bits. Bed 7 is what's left from the winter spinach. Even though we harvested a ton, it's regrowing again. So I might let a small portion go to seed, but I think I'm going to rip the rest out. And whatever we don't eat, the chickens can have. Bed 8 is where I direct seeded spinach. And it's not too far behind the stuff that I transplanted. I'll put the dates in for that, so we can compare. And then carrot seeds. These carrot seeds are seeds that I saved. And over here should be, whoops, seeds that were bought. And there's really nothing right here. There's really nothing much coming up. I noticed that this year. Anything that I saved seeds from is growing much better than the seeds that I bought. I believe this is bed 9. So over there is June bearing strawberries and onions. And this whole bed is June bearing strawberries. But here in Virginia, Zone 7A, we get the strawberries in May, even though they're called June bearing. And it looks like I do have someone dwelling in my bed here. A mole maybe has taken up residence. There's his other entrance. All right, let me count. 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Beds 10 and 11 on either side of the gate. I originally had them planned for flowers, but I went ahead and put potatoes in. So these are going to be Yukon Gold. There should be 5 potatoes coming up in each. There was lemon balm here before, so that may interfere with that potato. I don't know. We'll see if the lemon balm comes up, but we buried it pretty deep. Bed 10. All 5 potatoes coming up in this one. Bed 11, these are all Kennebecks and red Pontiac. This is the messy asparagus field. The trash bags have coffee grounds in them. We do have some asparagus we picked yesterday to be part of breakfast today. All right, I believe this is bed 13. Nothing in here other than the kale that I have let go to seed. It's the only brassica I'm letting flower right now, so hopefully I will get good kale seeds from it. The bees love this during the daytime. I'll show you a video of that. Bed 14 is empty. Bed 15, I'm going to rip the lavender out. One of them's dead and one of them's barely alive. I might trim it back and put it somewhere else and see how it does. And then there's plantain. And the bed obviously needs to be refilled. You see how low it is to the brick wall. We'll just top that off with compost. And I don't remember right now what's going to be in this bed. Number 16 is empty. That had spinach and lettuce in it last fall and over winter. I've taken that out and refilled. Bed 17 has the Bloomsdale long-standing spinach that I'm letting go to seed. Again, those seeds that I started this year from my own did much better. And the rest of the bed has ever-bearing strawberries. And I plopped in some spinach plants in there also that were extra. And final bed 18, chamomile from last year. It's going to flower this year, and some petunias. So we're going to have some lovely chamomile flowers. All right, now inside the garden. See if I can keep my count right here. I have these numbered 1 through 8, and it starts with the one closest to me and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, over 5, 6, 7, 8. These are going to all be tomatoes this year. I think one bed might have some peppers. But I'm so greedy with tomatoes, I might move the peppers somewhere else because I really want a minimum of 40 tomato plants. But right now, beds 1, 2, and 3 are empty. The peas that I transplanted here on this trellis are basically dead. I knew it was too late when I transplanted them. They had been in pots for too long. But you can have success with transplanted pea plants. You just can't let them stay in the pots for too long or in your cells. Bed number 4 had onions in it. It still has a few, but when I transplanted those, I covered them with fleece for a cold night, and then the rest of the week warmed up, and I forgot to uncover them, and it was too hot and dry, I guess, for the onions. So most of them have died. But that's okay. We have plenty more. There's some onions here. There's 2 leftover leeks at the end. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. We might cook them up, might give them to chickens. Red onions, yellow onions, in bed 6. And they're spaced so that the tomatoes can go in between them. I intercrop onions, basil, calendula, parsley. I intercrop whatever I can between the tomatoes to help with shade and pests, moisture retention, and to make use of the space. All right, 7 is empty. 8 has a few lettuce plants dropped in, and I put peas along this side of the trellis. I noticed that last year when I had beans on these trellises and I planted broccoli on both sides. So this is the northern side, this is the southern side. And the broccoli on this side did much better. The broccoli on this side stayed small because the arch was bringing in shade from the beans that I had on it. So this will be a good side during the summer to put parsley or some spinach, not spinach, lettuce, anything you want to stay a little cooler will probably do better on this side because of the shade. All right, bed 9 has 16 feet of trellis with peas, dropped in a little lettuce on this end, and this end's going to have watermelon seeds put in the next week or 2. See my 2 bamboo stakes for the dahlias there. I wanted to add a little pretty color to the garden. And then on the other side of the trellis for bed 9, I've got 3 rows of potatoes, and you can see them coming up. Those are Yukon Golds. But I've also seeded corn between them. So there's going to be 4 rows of corn. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm testing out to see how well that intercropping goes. I wonder how much it's going to disturb the roots of the corn when I harvest the potatoes. So we'll see how that goes. I planted 80 kernels there. I may or may not do some more planting somewhere else in a couple weeks, but I'm not sure where that would be. Bed 10. This bed has 24 feet of peas. See the little guys in the back end on that trellis. I hope, even though we're having a warm spring, that it doesn't warm up too much. I love peas. I want to get a whole bunch. Then there's red onions on this edge. And these cages don't have anything in them right now, but they're going to have peppers. If you buy these cages, just know they're not going to work for tomatoes, especially if they're indeterminate tomatoes. The cages are just way too small. You'd have to just cut the tops off your tomato plants. Just left a little walkway there, but that may end up being packed with more stuff before the season's over. And that was bed 10. This is my tool storage. Bed 11 is all garlic. And yesterday I did put 2 dahlias at the end of that bed. Bed 12 is broccoli, red onions, and again with the broccoli and the cauliflower and the kale, all the brassicas. I don't expect to get a lot out, especially if our weather warms up too quickly, because they do prefer cold weather. So my main brassica crop will happen in the late summer and fall. I'll start the seeds in end of July or August, transplant them in September, and get a really big fall harvest hopefully. But I've left space in this bed because there's actually going to be sweet potatoes in here all summer. And I figure by the time the onions are big enough to harvest, the sweet potatoes will just be filling in. Bed 13 is all Yukon Gold potatoes. They're coming up nicely. In another week or two, I'll be putting pintos on the trellises to grow in between. And bed 14 is cauliflower and Texas early grano onions. So my cauliflower is doing much better than the broccoli. I really hope to get at least maybe 10 heads. That would be lovely to have all that delicious cauliflower to eat. And at the end of bed 13, I have my strawberry towers. These are all ever-bearing strawberries. And they're just going to produce so much this year. Ooh, look at that big one already coming on. And that's it. Of course, we've got way over there, we've got 16 blueberry bushes. We've got more blackberries we need to fix this year. We had really good blackberry years, and then we stopped trimming the vines, and they died back quite a bit, so we have to propagate more of them. And that's it. I got this all done before the sun came up and blinded you. So this really is just a snapshot in time of the garden. It's constantly changing. Some of the things I'm going to be doing in the next week or two, some more seed starting. I am going to be putting some trellis above these tomatoes. I'll show you what that looks like next week. Of course, there's mowing every 10 days or so right now and weed eating to keep the weeds down between the beds. And watering. The raised bed walls need water almost every day, if not every other day, especially when it's not raining.
I enjoyed this early morning inspection, and I hope you did too. Always learning, always growing, and looking forward to working in the perfect gardens in heaven. When everything seems to be crumbling on this sin-sick planet that we're on, nature is still a place of peace and refuge. I'm always called back and reminded that things here are temporary, and the best choice for my own heart and for those around me is to live joyfully.